is the unspecialized blueprint of creation. We may create a robot that performs certain tasks better than the most excelled human. We may be able to genetically improve individuals to withstand certain impacts, and yet the course of evolution eventually will render these improvements invalid, and the aeons will grind them to fruitless dust. In the understanding of the ruling modern science paradigm, man is but one of an endless variety of creatures that happen to develop from the original soup of evolution. Simple put, man incidentally evolved from nothingness. This becomes clear through a visual representation of evolution in accordance with Darwin. This theory of Darwin has never been proven. To the contrary, a morphological study shows a very different picture. Supposedly, Darwin was right with the assertion that all species have evolved from one single life form. Out of this oneness, diversity developed. Darwin may have said that a species emerged in order to survive, but other species survived without that specific adaptation. Actually, with very different ones. Each of these specific adaptations made the species specialized. This is the core of the word species itself. Any specialization tends to end up at the end of a branch. Paw, hoof, wing, and flipper are all attempts to survive, according to Darwin. Each of them is a specialization that can be refined to a certain point, exploiting the full potential of a given niche and biology. Let us look closer at the bird's wing as compared to a human arm. The upper part of humerus, radius, and ulna is easily recognizable in both and are very similar. It is first when we reach the hand part of the wing that the differences become dramatic. The carpus bones are almost gone. The metacarpal bones are fused together. The thumb is an almost useless reminiscent. 4 phalanges are effectively reduced to 1. This leaves birds essentially without a hand. There is but 1 finger left, and its function is reduced to a mere feather-carrying arm part, essentially the same as humerus and ulna. The whole arm is specialized and perfected basically for one sole purpose: flying. For the human arm, it is almost the opposite. Its limits are in your imagination. Can you think of it? Eventually, you may find a way to do it. The price of specialization is that it blocks the way back into the main track of evolution. The more specialized you get, the more you depend on the conditions you adapted to. Regardless of how much you stress the distorted muscles and bones, they will never be able to leave the specialization and become the unspecialized human hand again. In many cases, like with the bird's wing, however, crucial bones and muscles simply are not there anymore. They are sacrificed for the sake of aerodynamics and maneuverability. There is no way an elephant's trunk can re-educate itself to become a human nose. Neither paw nor wing or flipper will ever be able to enjoy origami, the Japanese paper folding. The trunk as well as the wing are the results of aeons of specialization. emanating from the blueprint, man. One might say, therefore, there is nothing special about man. However, whilst man is the least specialized of any species and thus entails the best realization of the blueprint of life, this is exactly what is really special about him. This means that the future of life on Earth does not emanate neither from microbes nor from monkeys, but from man. Looking at the morphological evolution of life on Earth, it becomes clear that all life evolves from the strain of man. On his travel through evolution, the other mammals have settled, each with their specialties. Hence they are all to be found at the branches leaving the main stem and are represented with dots. Man cannot possibly evolve from monkeyhood, because monkeyhood is a specialization of man. Therefore monkeys, like all other species, have evolved from and specialized away from the developing tree of man. However, man has indeed, like any other species, the possibility to specialize. This could be within the realm of calculative thinking, for instance. Obviously, future development paths could also be further steps into permanent competition, or even emerge with artificial intelligence and mechanical robotics that could be understood as a final manifestation of betahood. If such a species has the ability to survive over time, that is. Many traits in modern human society have affinities in such directions. One common marker of these traits is that it weakens the human body. We speak of lifestyle or chronic diseases. Any attempt to interfere with the human body that restricts its innate functions or purposes will be understood as injury, as harm against life, and thus as deteriorating in the sense of life, trauma. The animals do not suffer from human modern civilization diseases, neither do the plants. That said, we may impose such illnesses on them inasmuch as we draw them into our lifestyle. Whereas cows 100 years ago gave some few liters of milk daily in the multitude of the summer and hardly anything during winter, now they easily give 30 liters a day regardless of season. The cows, living as they did with and in the farm family, easily lived for 20 years and more. Nowadays, a cow typically lives something like 3 to 5 years. What is the difference? Now the animals are mere parts of a production line where they either adjust to the system or they are disposed of. These adjustments divert the animals away from their natural life. Each development step of automation demands corrections. Corresponding steps to be taken by the animal spirit in order to bring harmony and balance into the earthly life of the animals. This is becoming increasingly difficult. The dairy industry will love it, though, when the bioarchitects manage to create free, living udders to be implemented in their production line. Civilization-related diseases are now adding up. We literally pass them on to the coming generation. And so, if we want to regain health, we need to pay attention to life itself. In any action and interaction, we are faced with the cruel choice. Do you want to restrict life or nurture it? This is what the INNATE method is all about. Most people would benefit thereof, at least just so much as to stay alive, and maybe even go for the luxury of happiness, in remembrance of the blueprint.